Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe that I'd like to share with you from my grandmother, and it is called Hungarian Savoy cabbage with potatoes stew, and it's called KELKÁPOZTA FdomZelék KRUMPLIVAL. So what you need is 1 medium Savoy cabbage and 5 to 6 medium potatoes, 5 to 6 garlic cloves, and 1 medium onion. And then you need, for spices, you need 1 tablespoon of marjoram, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of vegeta or vegetable base, 2 tablespoons of vegetable shortening, and 3 tablespoons of flour. So what you do is you cut up the cabbage in half and then quarter pieces, and then you cut each quarter piece into smaller pieces. So this is what I've done with the Savoy cabbage. I have, so your cabbage should look something like this for this recipe. And then what you do is you dice your potatoes, and I have some diced potatoes here. And I've cut them up into small cubes. And then what I have is I've diced some onions and some garlic. Onions and garlic. And I have 5 to 6 cloves of garlic. So what you do is that you I've washed all of the vegetables in a colander, and then I add all of the above ingredients into a large pot, including the marjoram, salt, and vegeta. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'm using a large stock pot to do this. So I'm going to put in my Savoy cabbage, and you want to have a lot of room to make this recipe, so I always use my stock pot. It comes in handy to have the stock pot. It's a lot easier to cook it up in this, and you've got lots of room. The cabbage will shrink down as it is cooking, so it's not going to look as much as it is now. And then I'm going to add my potatoes, my diced potatoes, into the stock pot, and then I'm going to add my onions. So I have 1 medium onion, and I use sweet onions. And then I have some garlic. I've got about 5 cloves of garlic here, and I've diced that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir this around a bit, mix it around, make sure that the ingredients are mixed together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour water over it. I'm going to make sure that all the vegetables are covered with water. And I'm going to cook this for approximately 40 minutes. And I'm going to check the potatoes to make sure that they're cooked. So I've got here 8 cups of water so far. And then I've got another 4 cups. It makes 12. We'll see how much we need here. So probably need about another 4 cups. So probably about 16 cups of water that you will need for this particular recipe. But you just make sure that the water is covered. So I'm going to add some more water to this. This should be sufficient enough because, as you know, cabbage has got a lot of water in it also. So I'm just going to stir this around. Then I'm going to bring this to a quick boil, and then I'm going to put it on medium heat. And I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to add my sea salt, my vegeta. I use vegeta. You can use also a vegetable base, and of course marjoram. Now marjoram is it's very similar to oregano. It has a sweet flavor to it, and my grandmother would always use that in a lot of her recipes, and my mother too. Marjoram. And so I'm just going to stir this around, make sure that the spices are all mixed in there. And then I'm going to cook that up for approximately 40 minutes. And then when I come back, I'm going to show you how to do the flour mixture base. and then it should be ready. So approximately probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes, the recipe should be done. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. What I have on the stove is some cabbage, potatoes, onions, and garlic, and I also added the spices, the vegeta, the salt, and I also added some marjoram. So marjoram is kind of like oregano. It's got a sweet tasting flavor to it. So my grandmother and mother would add this to the this cabbage potato stew mixture. So what I'm going to do now is on the stove I have some 2 tablespoons of vegetable shortening melted at a medium heat, and then what I've done is I've added 3 tablespoons of flour to the shortening, and I'm continually stirring it until it's golden brown. So I've got that on the stove right now, and you have to really watch this because it can burn. So you want to make sure that I've put it down to a low heat, and it's going to be like a fried sort of fried flour in vegetable shortening. So you want to be continually stirring this and making sure that it doesn't burn. And once you've got the flour browned in the shortening, you would add a half a cup of water to it. And then you would take this flour mixture and you would add it to the cabbage. Now I've got the cabbage all cooked up with the potatoes and the onions and garlic and all the spices that I've added to it. And I'm going to add this to the cabbage potato stew. I'm just going to continue stirring this a little bit more and making sure that it is fried golden brown. And it doesn't take a very long time to do it. Now this flour mixture gives it a distinct flavor to the cabbage potato stew. And I'm using Savoy cabbage for this recipe. That's the best cabbage to use. Now once I've done that, I'm going to add my water. I'm going to take this off the stove, and then I'm going to add the water to it, the half a cup of water. I'm going to mix it together, and then I'm going to add it to the cabbage, and then I'm going to bring it to a quick boil. I'm going to cook it for probably another 10 minutes, and then it's ready. It's ready to serve. So you can serve it with your favorite rye bread, and one of the meat dishes that I have on my website. There's the hamburger, and then there's the meatloaf recipe. That's another one. Or you can serve it without any meat at all. This was a very popular dish with my grandmother and mother. Very economical. So what I've done is I'm going to take it off the heat, and I'm just going to stir this around. The mixture around, and it's going to kind of like become a paste. It's going to become like a paste. And then I'm going to add this paste to the cabbage so that it kind of thickens it up too, and it gives it a distinct flavor. I'm just going to add this to the cabbage, the flour mixture in there, and I'm going to stir that into the cabbage. I'm going to stir it around, and then I'm going to bring it to a quick boil. So I'm going to put my heat up to medium heat and bring this to a quick boil, and then it should be ready to serve. Now I will be back, and I will show you what this great recipe looks like. Welcome back again to Irinka's Kitchen. I had on the stove cabbage potato stew cooking for approximately 50 minutes, and I've added the flour mixture to it. That was the last part of my video, and then of course I've come back again after about 10 minutes, and what I have here in a serving dish is some cabbage potato stew that I'd like to show to you in a serving dish. So this was actually a quite common recipe for my grandmother and my mother. It was very economical, and she served it at least once a week to her family. My mother also cooked it for us when we were small children, and she still does cook up a batch of it sometimes when I go over to visit her. And what this can be served with is some hamburgers, and I have a really good recipe for hamburgers and meatloaf. Recipe that you could actually add to this dish, or you could eat it on its own, and you could choose a favorite rye bread of your choice and eat it that way also. So, and it is very filling dish, so it is very nutritious, and it is very economical. It's easy to make. It's a quick and easy recipe that you can make. Within about an hour, you have a dinner ready for your family. So if you have any questions or comments and questions about the recipe, you can contact me at irinkaskitchen.com or irene@irinkaskitchen.com. I hope that you enjoy cooking this meal for your family. Until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat!